Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk podcast, where we spend just a little bit of time talking about Lord of the Rings cards that have characters that are not doing what they look like they should be doing in their artwork. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about cards from the game that should be doing stuff that don't look like that they're doing them in their artwork.
All will become apparent if you're not sure what I'm talking about. But before we get talking about today's card, which is also the title of the show, so I don't know why you wouldn't know that. Anyways, we first of all need to thank our patrons as the year is winding down and coming to a close. Another year under our belt. We are wrapping up season 5, and we're slowly approaching season 6 here of Card Talk, which is crazy. So if you want to support all that we do for the community, we have a blog and a podcast and a YouTube channel and all sorts of stuff. You can join the ranks of the patrons over here. Patreon.com/CardTalk2018. We do have a blog run by our blog master / wordsmith extraordinaire, Matt. He's over there typing up written reviews for every card that we put out on the podcast. And so he is doing his work over at cardtalk2018.com. And then we have Micah, who is the latest addition to the Card Talk crew, where he is doing a playthrough every other Sunday on the YouTube channel. So there's a lot of ways that you can interact with us and hang out with us and be around us. And there's also a lot of ways to avoid us as well. But
yeah.
But
that part's easy.
Yeah. If but in the end, in a serious moment, as we wrap up as we get close to wrapping up the year, I just want to thank everybody for another amazing year at Card Talk, and I just love what we do. It's so much fun. It's a way for me to keep connected to the game that I love and the community that has been so amazing for me. But Ted, I drone on, so I would hate to bore you. So what card are we talking about today?
Well, today's card, David, after all that sentimental stuff, which I am reflects my sentiment as well. So thank you for saying those kind things. Today we're talking about Boromir. It is the ally Boromir from the Road Darkens pack. He is a tactics 4-cost ally. His stat line is 1 willpower, 3 attack, 1 defense, and 4 hit points. He's unique. He has the traits Gondor and the other trait Warrior. And his text reads, Boromir gets +2 defense while defending against an enemy with an engagement cost higher than your threat. He additionally has a response text that says, after Boromir takes any amount of damage, ready him. Kapow.
Well, this doesn't have the word this doesn't have the word hobbit in it, so
but it might as well. Might as well just print it right on there.
And my reference about the artwork, it is common that it looks like
he's in a wheelchair.
It looks like he's in a wheelchair when in fact it's really just his shield and he's holding onto a sword. And this is a broader piece of art that includes all of the fellowship. This is in the Mines of Moria when Pippin hit the thing down into the well and woke the orcs. This is in that chamber of Misarbel. So he's sitting on a pile of, like a chest or a pile of something, and has his shield down.
And he's sitting at the exact height that like a normal chair height, and the shield is resting against him where it looks like it's big enough to be a wheel because it's one of those round shields, If you would have one of those like square Gondorian shields or whatever, would have been fine. But no, instead it
Right.
looks amazing.
Instead, it's a round shield. We should just finish talking about the art since we already did. I mean, the art is pretty good. You know, Boromir has long hair here. He's a little less fair in this picture than I normally envision him. Not like his leadership version where he is, you know, like the champion of Gondor, like stud muffin Boromir. He's a little more grizzled veteran in this picture, but
I do like it. I think the lighting is great, and I think he's depicted well with his armor and his shield, and he looks very very warrior like. He just happens to be
in a wheelchair,
sitting with the shield is resting there, and
right.
But I do think it's a great rendition of the character.
Yeah,
talking about his stout manner and the way he's described in the books. So
yep. So let's talk about the card, Ted.
Look about the card, Dave.
Yeah, let's talk about Tactics Boromir Ally. What say you?
Well, I say that he's pretty great. So he's got 1 defense and 4 hit points, but then he gets an extra 2 defense while the enemy has an engagement cost higher than your threat. So that immediately makes me think of low threat decks, which the hobbits come to mind. Now there are other low threat deck strategies like Fast Red and a couple other heroes that were actively work to lower your threat. But it's interesting because he has that text, yet he's also a 4-cost tactics. So you need to be to be able to afford him reasonably. You got to be playing 2 tactics heroes, and a lot of times tactics decks don't play to that strategy. Generally, they just just let the enemies come down. They want to engage them. That's their play style. But not this one. But then he has that additional text too of any time he takes damage to ready him, which works in conjunction with that, certainly, right? Because he defends an attack, takes 1 or 2 damage, and he readies to use his 3 attack. That's great. But so many other times, I find ways to put damage on him to ready him. Sometimes you get shadow cards that say assign X number of damage to characters you control. I will have quested with him because I've been desperate for 1 willpower and take damage there. He's been exhausted before I've taken archery, and I put archery damage on him to ready him. So there's lots of things. Lots of ways to ready him, and then if you have ways to heal him, it's even better with like a warden. But I'm very curious, since the first thing that comes to mind, like I said, is playing him in conjunction with Pippin, hero Pippin, that's raising the enemy's engagement cost. So how does you play the Hobbit play style much more than I do, that type of genre and theme and everything. So I'm curious to hear it. Do you play how often he makes it into those decks? Shaking your head.
Yeah.
Not many.
So
no.
I mean, he is great for those decks, and you can cheat him into play, and you can like use Elfstone, which is
I would say Elfstone makes the most sense.
You know, that's good. I mean, the problem is really his cost, and so when you're playing a Hobbit
like all
deck,
cards, well, really the problem is you have to have resources to play the card, and you also have to have the card in your hand. So really, there's no good card in the game.
Right? Yeah, 0 good cards. No, but I mean, in a Hobbit deck, more than any other deck, like because the Hobbits are very squishy to begin with, like you're relying on low cost things to get out quickly to help you boost your Hobbits and to get bodies on the board to take, and so like. If you're playing a Bond of Friendship Hobbit deck, this is never going to go in there because you're never going to get four tactics resources. And if the only way you're going to be able to play him is by using Elfstone to get Boromir into play, that's a 2-card combo, and you only have 2 of those, and like, so it doesn't go into that deck. I mean, of course it can, but it doesn't make sense to go into that deck. And then, like, if you want to do, like, if you're going to use a Hobbit deck, so are you going to use, you probably want 2 tactics heroes. So then are you going to use Tom Cotton and Merry or
Merry? Yeah.
Bilbo and Merry and Pippin, or, you know, MOTK, you know, tactics Pippin,
Farmer
and, you know, like, you know, like, but then again, you're still using, you know, like, then you still have to wait 2 rounds, and you have to assume you're not getting your, you know, your quick strike and your, you know, all those things that you need to help, you know, your daggers of Westerness out that are going to help you do all the things that hobbits need to have in order for them to be viable in the first couple of rounds, you know. And so where I have seen this now is really nice as the support deck for my deck. It's no secret that I played the last year. Well, actually, it took us 3 years, but my friend and I, we played the saga live. Like, we did it in person, and then the pandemic hit and, like, slowed us way down because we weren't going to do it over the computer and, like, all this stuff. But he was playing a mono tactics deck because he wanted to take Aowen to kill the Witch King, and, you know, like, use Legolas to kill all sorts of stuff, and Theoden helps out, all that stuff. And, you know, so, but he played Boromir in that deck, and I was playing my hobbits, so I was trying to keep, you know, engagement cost high and threat low, and so, like, he was playing Boromir, and that was working. So maybe in my experience, that's where this card goes, in a support deck for hobbits. But I don't think that it's a bad cost to have this guy out on the board, even if you don't get him the +2 defense bonus. I mean, in general, if you add up their stats plus their hit points, divide by 2, that tells you if the cost is fair. And so this is already, you know, truncated, rounded down, whatever, you know, 4.5. There's 9 total points out there, so that'd be 4.5, and he's costed at 4. So it's fairly costed. It's so, you know, it's just a feel bad that you can't use the defense bonus, you know?
Yeah.
So sure. That's not a he's not a bad character in the having a tactics deck, or a way when you can get a way, when you have a way to pull them out. It's, you know, it's not it's not in a Hobbit deck. So that's my take, since you asked specifically about a Hobbit deck, is that, you know, he doesn't really go into those Hobbit decks for all those reasons, or at least the Hobbit decks that I'm building, you know. He's gone into them, and it's usually like one of, you know, and he comes out at the end and, you know, helps defend and do stuff, but it's not, he's not the linchpin in any Hobbit deck.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. I'll tell you the most common place I have for him is a Tactics Prince Imrahil deck. He is fantastic for Tactics Prince Imrahil, because Imrahil lets you spend a resource to search the top 5 cards of your deck for an ally that shares a trait, and Boromir shares both Gondor and Warrior. So you can pay 1 resource, and if he's in your top 5, you put him on the table, he'll defend, and as long as he survives, whether he gets his defense bonus or not, he readies to then attack back. So you plant 1 resource to both block and attack, and then also have 3 additional attack on that same turn. It's awesome. It feels great.
Or to defend multiple times. If you have several 4-cost attacking things engaged with you, you can attack, defend, ready, defend, ready, defend, ready. I mean, you can do that a few times.
Yes, yeah. As long as he takes damage, he readies. So I've had plenty of times where he's, you know, get bad shadow cards, and so he's killed. I've had that happen. I have had him defend multiple times, like you said. But like either way, he still ends up serving his purpose. Like if he comes out and defends twice and then dies, super happy with that. If I only spent one resource on it.
Is that a feel good moment because it's so thematic that Boromir comes out and defends and is like, like if only he would defend for archery, like, and then that would be even more thematic, right? But
yeah,
I never have a problem killing off this version of Boromir.
Right. I kill off his hero version plenty. Both of them, even, but especially his tactics one. So he's got, he's also a pretty good target in that same vein to sneak attack. If you're running tactics and leadership, like it's just like Prince Imrahil. You're putting him into play for that one resource, and he'll probably give you more than one action for doing so. So he's a pretty decent target. But yeah, as far as putting him on the table and hard casting him, I've also played him with Hirgan. Hirgan, because Hirgan will let you play an ally, a tactics ally from your hand for reduce, and then I only pay 3 for him, and that I consider a really good deal. Right. Especially that turn, I'll raise my threat by 1 to boost his stats, so he'll have 4 attack and 2 defense, which helps him survive an attack, even if he's not getting his bonus. He has Hirgan's bonus. So I find more play with him with Hirgan and Imrahil than I do with hobbits.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but he's fantastic, and certainly those circumstances where he doesn't quite fit in to the Hobbit one like as well as you would think. It seems like.
Right. You want to put him in there, but he doesn't quite work well in there.
Yeah.
So it's a little tough.
But this Boromir's got 3 versions, as I just mentioned, right? He's got his tactics and his heroes, or his leadership hero. Do you feel that he competes in those? Like, how do you think he lines up against the other versions?
Well, he's different enough that I think, and since the, what do I want to say? Since the errata of hero tactics Boromir.
Oh, to once per phase, his ability.
Yeah, I feel like this makes this guy like Boromir Jr., where, like if you're going to do stuff, you can bring this guy in and still have Boromir into play, so, and I'm not it's not that I don't like Tactics Boromir, hero, but like, I just don't play him very often. Historically Tactics was really hard to build solo. And then, since I have built Tactics decks, but I still don't really break out Tactics hero Boromir. But I have used this guy, and doing some stuff. So, okay. I think his heroes, they all fill a specific niche. That's what I'm trying to say, as opposed to Treebeard hero versus Treebeard ally. Like, when you're deciding who to build with, you're like, I'm going to pick Treebeard ally because he's just so much better. And that's what you use generally, right? Here you can see use cases for all 3 of them, right? So.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's different. And he's also not like the ally is not a linchpin of any single deck.
Right.
Where if you're like, oh, I got to take out my Boromir so someone else can play their Gondor deck with leadership version, which is, you can't just take that hero out of that deck and then have it function.
Right.
So the other thing I wanted to bring up, which I've never done before, and now I'm very intrigued because this show, we've always talked about how we want the show to inspire other people to just try cards and build different decks. That happens to me all the time. I will play a card and then do a show about it and then have entirely new ideas after talking to you about it.
Yeah.
And one that just came up is using him with the Messenger of the King contract as a hero.
Right.
So if you he's 9 threat if you use the Messenger of the King contract and you put him with Tactics Merry and Pippin, your threat's 21 to start, which is pretty low. Right?
Yeah, which is pretty good.
And then Pippin is still giving +2 engagement to enemies.
Right.
to then help trigger Pippin's card draw and help boost Boromir's defense to 3.
Right.
And then Merry still attacks for 2. So you could defend with Boromir for 3. If he takes damage, ready him. And then I guess Pippin and Boromir could swing back by themselves for 5 without any items. And then you could also ready Boromir again with Merry's ability. So I wonder if that has any juice behind it, or if there's another way to rearrange that. But I wonder, putting him in an MOTK deck, which other heroes that have low threat.
Right.
These two are the lowest you're going to get. But I wonder, maybe even pairing him with like Spirit Glorfindel. Right. Those two are 14.
Right.
And then you find another.
Well, then you could do Smeagol to get your lore access, so you can heal him, and then you're at 17.
You're in secrecy.
Right.
You're in secrecy with this guy. Right. So I think there's a lot of space that I haven't explored with him as a hero.
Right. I think that's true. And I think that there's a lot of, and I don't think that he overlaps with his other version as much. I mean, I do think he has the ability to, ready a whole bunch, but I don't think that necessarily overlaps with the tactics hero version. I feel like, we should mention that Raiment of War can be played on him because he's just a warrior character. Round Shield could be played on him.
Round Shield that's a fantastic, like he's got good traits for an ally, or if you Messenger of the King him a hero, Gondor Warrior. Yeah, those are fantastic cards, especially Raiment gives him more hit points. It gives him 2 extra hit points and extra defense. And then an extra attack to ready. Like that's a fantastic. It's expensive if you were to.
Well, it's 2.
Like I said, Hirgan helps a little bit, but you're investing 6 resources. But he's gonna stick around probably.
Right.
Like with 6 hit points and 2 to 4 defense.
Right. He's your defender, right?
He could easily hold his own and defend multiple times.
Right. And then
if you got a low threat.
Yeah. And then what's that card that, like, when you're thinking of Outlands, the card that makes a Gondor the Sword of Morthond? Is that what it is?
Oh, Sword of Morthond makes a Gondor ally Outland, which I've also never done. But yes, you could put him in an Outlands deck and then make him Outlands with the Sword of Morthond. And then he gets all the Outlands bonuses, which I think that would be bonkers. And Sword of Morthond's already like it is a combo card, right? You have to attach it to an ally.
Right.
I've never done that. I suppose your hero lineup would have to be, you need Hirgan for sure. Right. You could play Prince Imrahil tactics.
Do you mean Hirluin?
I'm sorry, Hirluin the Fair.
Right. Not Hirgan.
Wow.
I mean, you can use Hirgan.
You could. He's still a choice to get him out for cheaper.
It's really exciting. Ted, I can tell that you're really excited about this.
I got all excited because I just never opened up this door. This is why we have the show, Dave.
I know. Past couple of episodes, you're like, oh, here's what you could do. Kind of
some cool stuff. Here's a card or whatever. But I've never played him Messenger of the King hero. And I think I really need to, because there's just so much space there.
Next year at the con. MOTK.
Yeah, I've never seen anyone else do it either. It's probably has happened. I just wasn't around. But I've never seen him on the table as a hero. And I think this version of him, I think he makes a great hero.
Right. Well, one of the things that I want to bring up also is kind of non-bow. You can't cancel the damage off of him. You can't use like Honor Guard and cancel the damage and then ready him. When you cancel the damage, you don't.
He needs to at least take a damage. But
you could, if he takes 3 and you cancel 2, you can do that.
Yep. You can use him. So if I was playing him as a hero or the ally, you can use both Honor Guard. Thank you for mentioning that. And Gondorian Discipline.
Right.
That's the 0 cost event that reduces 2 damage. So if he takes a big pool of damage, you can chunk it down to 1 so he lives and then readies. Those are great cards to use with it. This deck's coming together, man. I'm telling you.
Ted's already
and then
got his,
I'm gonna play I'm gonna play
MOTK
Unseen
Boromir
Strikes.
right,
Unseen Strikes.
right, because he's gonna ready, and you're gonna be able to like.
He's a 0-cost card that gives him +3 attack if you have lower threat, which the whole deck is gonna be built upon that.
Right. Yeah,
I gotta start. I'm gonna forget. All right, MOTK Boromir. Daggers of Westerness also going to go into the deck,
right?
Because those are always going to get their bonus.
Right.
Honor Guards are going to go into this deck.
What's your other heroes?
That's to be determined. That's TBD.
Is it going to be a like a hybrid Outlands deck? Heirloom, you could make a Gondor or Heirloom the Fair and this guy.
That's a whole other way to approach it. Is Heirloom?
Because you could just do all allies. You know, you could do half allies, and then you could do, Heirloom and Boromir and whoever else you want.
Some Raymond of War, and even as a hero, he can great put in round shields, put in Raymonds.
I was just saying, Heirloom gives you access to leadership, which is like Armored Destrier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a ton of build space.
Erkenbrand. No, yeah.
Oh yeah, Unseen. Okay.
Cancel some.
So I got kind of a deck started and has all those cards we just named: Honor Guards, Discipline, Unseen Strike, Raiment, Dagger, and Round Shield. And just that is there's lots of places.
You need some Ally Galadriel in there too.
Oh boy,
get all that stuff out there.
That would be great.
For anybody who doesn't know, we record shows in one big chunk. So tonight's show started with Ally Galadriel. And so,
yeah.
Ted, the excitement in your voice is palpable. I can do this. But you know what? We already talked about the art at the beginning of the episode, but should we cut this off and start and ring this?
Yeah, let's give them a ring rating.
Okay,
absolutely.
So for anybody who doesn't know or may have forgotten, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary scale where we rank a card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, or the best card in the game, and a 10 is the card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it came, or one of the worst cards of the game. And so, Ted, Boromir, I would normally go because it's my turn to go, but you seem so excited here. I want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I almost have to hold my rating because I've never explored this side of him.
That's the beauty of this game. Like, let's put all this stuff on pause. Like, isn't this the beauty of this game? Is that, like, Ted, you've been playing this game for 11 years since it was launched, right?
Yeah.
There was a joke on the first episode you were on. You were like, I've been playing this game since lunch. And I was like, since lunch? Not that long.
Quick learners. Not that long. Just a couple hours.
Right. But you said since launch. But the point is that, like, you've been playing. And so, like, here we are, 11, almost 12 years later, you're still excited about this, like, finding a new way to use a card that you never really thought about before because the card pool is so rich and deep and lustrous and, like, it's all of those things. And so, and that's it. That's the excitement we want at Card Talk. So, all of that to say, I think that despite what Ted was saying about MOTK Boromir and the excitement there, like, does this guy get me moving? Yeah, I mean, I think that this Boromir is the one that I'm going to use maybe more than others. He's more general. The leadership Boromir hero is going to fit into the Gondor swarm. Like, that's where you're going to put him in. Tactics hero Boromir, since his nerf, he's still great. But I don't know, like, he's just kind of a tactics hero, right? Like, he's just, he readies, like, which is great, but, like, he's also one of the first heroes that came out. So he came out in the Dead Marshes. And so, like, I don't know, it's like, it's old news. This Boromir, I don't know, he's all right. He doesn't fit into a lot of the decks that I make, but I think that I'm more drawn to this one than the other ones.
Yeah, sure. So I was gonna give him a 4.
You were gonna give him a 4.
Yeah, because and that could improve. That can improve once I actually put him on the table or see him played as a hero. I think both his abilities are great. He's better earlier game than late game when obviously your threat's lower, but he's also expensive. so he's hard to get out, but I think he's also worth the cost.
Right. Well, I'm going to give him like a 5, I think. That's where he was going to fall for me. I was doing all that stuff so I could give him the rating, not so that you could.
But I went.
You went first, yeah.
I didn't give
you readied yourself before. I was dealing all the damage, and you just readied yourself and went right in there.
Oh, I was like, technically, David, my attack. I'm first player, so my attack phase happens first.
Right.
So I will.
Right.
You can't range over and kill my enemy until I attack.
I was sentineling there for a minute.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
That's okay. No, that's fine. Okay, everybody. Well, that's Tactics Ally Boromir. So everybody, enjoy that and have a great day.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.